Barbara Swan's paintings come boldly at you, whether it's a subject's mournful expression or the fluidity of refracted forms. The color, the composition, and the figures in Swan's paintings assert themselves, sometimes with poignancy, and sometimes because they are artfully unsettling. Her works hang in the National Portrait Gallery, the Museum of Fine Arts Boston, and the Art Institute of Chicago, to name a few. While seemingly very little about Barbara Swan aligns with the Cape Ann art community, she was perhaps the most Rockport of all Rockport artists. In a 1973 interview for the Smithsonian Archives of American Art, Swan explained that she was an only child and that she grew up in a household where there was no art, even though both her parents were natives of a famous art colony, Rockport, Massachusetts. Swan's father's family were Swedes who had immigrated to Rockport to work in the granite industry. Her grandfather, John Swan, was a well-known quarry foreman, working in what is now called Flat Ledge Quarry, but was then referred to as Swan's Quarry. Swan's mother's family crossed the Atlantic in the 17th century, settling in Pigeon Cove. That grandfather, Captain William David Knowlton, sailed a steamer, the William H. Moody, out of Pigeon Cove, delivering Rockport granite to building projects along the eastern seaboard. He was killed at 43 years old when a derrick fell on him. Barbara Swan once said, "When you consider the sea captain father on my mother's side and the granite industry foreman on my father's, this was good, worthy labor." Swan was born in 1922. After graduating from Wellesley to please her father, she studied art under the German expressionist Karl Zerb at Boston School of the Museum of Fine Arts. Her vision later evolved, but Swan's painting never lost the expressionistic freshness of those early years. She lived and painted in France at Sanary-sur-Mer from 1949 to 1951. She met her husband, Alan Fink, at that time in Paris. In 1961, married with 2 children by then, Swan was one of 21 women to be accepted into the first group of fellows at Radcliffe's Institute for Independent Studies. The institute was founded by Radcliffe president Polly Bunting, who believed that many American women who had stopped promising careers to have families faced what she called a climate of unexpectation. At Radcliffe, Swan became close friends with poets Anne Sexton and Maxine Kumin. She created a number of important portraits of her poet friends, including a drawing of Anne Sexton when she was visiting Swan in Rockport. The intense working friendship Swan shared with Sexton and Kumin drew her into extraordinary collaborations. Swan provided the cover drawing for Sexton's poetry collection, Live or Die, published in 1966. And she illustrated Kumin's Upcountry, Poems of New England, published in 1972. Both collections received the Pulitzer Prize. But perhaps the most provocative illustrations Swan created were for Sexton's book, Transformations. A hard-boiled retelling of Grimm's fairy tales in poetry. Swan connected instantly to Sexton's contemporary interpretations. As soon as she read the poem Snow White, a universal confrontation between aging beauty and young beauty, she called her friend to say, "My God, Anne, I love that poem. I identify with that poor old queen." As Swan reports, Anne then replied, "So do I." After multiple attempts, Sexton would take her life 2 years later. Swan's husband, Alan Fink, opened the Alpha Gallery in Boston in 1967. From its inception, the Alpha Gallery has exhibited emerging, mid-career, and established contemporary artists, as well as 20th century historical figures and modern masters. Today, their daughter, Joanna Fink, runs the gallery. Swan's son, Aaron Fink, is also a painter. His works hang in the Metropolitan Museum of Art and the National Gallery of Art, among others. Across her artistic career, Swan remained a quiet steward for her family's Rockport heritage. Her home in Pigeon Cove, now owned by her children and theirs, is just a short walk from John Swan's quarry. Aaron Fink still paints in his mother's studio. Swan died in 2003 at age 80. Her mother, Clara Knowlton Swan, daughter of that Pigeon Cove ship captain, died 5 days before her daughter at the age of 106. Joanna Fink says they believe the mother intuitively just did not want to outlive her daughter. This is the story of someone who grew up one generation away from Rockport's most revered work, quarrying and shipping stone. Swan said her father never wanted her to be an artist. He believed the artist's lifestyle was antithetical to the kind of hard work his family had valued. Perhaps Swan's Rockport heritage and her art were not so much apart. Perhaps they have sustained each other all along as one. Art in the family tradition was Barbara Swan's good, worthy labor.